we have Linda Sarsour. Linda Sarsour, who is a radical Marxist Muslim. She has gathered together Joe Biden and his allies at a progressive Muslim voice event. The membership-based 501c4 seeks to mobilize American Muslims to advocate for issues that define who American Muslims are by what they stand for. That's interesting. Somebody standing up for what they actually believe. Is that what she's saying? So what is it that they actually believe? Now, the group's exuberance for Biden has been lackluster since he took over Bernie Sanders' spot as the lead candidate. They actually have wanted Bernie Sanders. Why? Because the movement in the Middle East is a collectivist movement. So on Monday, they had a phone call, and Linda Sarsour was one of the people that was talking. She was a featured speaker. She became famous for co-founding the Women's March. Remember that, ladies, when you all marched and you thought, oh, yeah, we're just marching with like-minded people, for women's rights. No, actually you weren't. It was a radical Muslim and Marxist group that you were running around with. How did that end? How'd that end for you? Not real well, did it? So she goes on and she starts talking about how she is so for Joe Biden and we all have to come together. And then she introduces Joe Biden. And Joe Biden begins to speak to this Muslim group. Now, Sarsour, she has a special brand of anti-Semitism that really puts Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib to shame. She's a surrogate of Louis Farrakhan. She is outspoken on her anti-Israeli leanings. She's very aggressive. She's advocated several times for one-state Palestine with no Israel. She is pro-boycott divestment, sanctions against Israel, and has been tied vehemently to anti-Semitic zealots tied to terrorism. But Joe Biden and his team thought it would be really nice to take a moment and pander to Sarsour's friends. A little, don't you agree, Pat, it's not just, if you have one drop of anti-Semitic blood, it doesn't make you an anti-Semite, right?
Right, of
and
course.
if you're right, and if all of your friends are anti-Semites, that doesn't make you an anti-Semite.
Certainly not.
And Joe Biden took the opportunity to talk to these rabid anti-Semites, and he coined a new word. He said that he was going to stop under this administration. We've seen an unconscionable rise in Islamic-phobia. So that's a new word. I've heard of Islamophobia, but not Islamic-phobia. Now you might say, well, everybody makes that kind of mistake. Glenn, listen to you, right? Yeah, he said Islamic-phobia 4 times. He's, quote, Trump has named people with a history of open Islamic phobia. And he wants the Muslim community to know that's not who you are. That's not what you're all about. So you have to decide whether you want to defeat fascism in America. Linda Sarsour said, the election for me is really not about Joe Biden. It is about destroying fascism. Now, you would think, why would you want to destroy if you are, as somebody who believes in the Middle East kind of rule? If you're an Islamicist, why would you try to defeat fascism? Well, because fascism isn't based on the Quran, but it's the same principle. Sarsour says our community is committed to ending the occupation of the Palestinian people. That means the destruction of Israel. Now, here's an interesting second note. This is from the Washington Examiner. It looks like President Trump is headed for a drubbing from Jewish voters this fall. Jewish voters are strangely for Joe Biden. I'm trying to figure that out with who he's surrounding himself with. He is littered with people all over his campaign that don't really have an affinity for Israel. In fact, they want to destroy Israel. A one-state solution that only includes Palestine means there will be no Jews in Israel. I'm trying to figure out how that works for Joe Biden in the campaign, but why not? We appear to be a nation of people that are voting for suicide, that are rooting for national suicide. Why should Jewish people be any different? Meanwhile, two squad members, Ilhan Omar of Minnesota and Rashida Tlaib of Michigan, are up for re-election, and they are now fending off primary challengers in a closer-than-expected race next month. Their contests, while complicated by different forces, both threaten to break up the group, which also includes Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez and Ayanna Pressley do you know anything about her? Because she's like the Ringo. She's sitting there playing the drums. She doesn't get any credit for anything.
She's almost like...
But she's up in Massachusetts.
Almost even like Peter Best, the drummer who left the Beatles, the fifth Beatle. She's almost like him because nobody knows who she is or what she does.
Yeah, nobody knows that.
Yeah.
Here is a group of people that are now calling for the end of Israel. In fact, could I please play BLM speaker defends Palestine? Here's that same BLM speaker that was talking about ending white men. Here he is on Palestine.
We need to look at Palestine. Recently, I think it was like 3 days ago, every map, whether it's iPhone, Android, Google, have removed Palestine from the maps. So Palestine is still there, okay? Palestine is not gone. As much as Israel wants to take over everything, as much as America is funding them, and that's his issue on its own.
Does that sound like a friend to the Jews? How many times are we going to go through this? And the story is exactly the same. Now, we have spent years, more specifically several weeks, covering Black Lives Matter. I've been showing you who funds them. We know who funds them, what their goals are. We know that now. And why they want to destroy everything that makes America the greatest nation on earth, but why they also want to destroy Israel. Now there's this new piece of the puzzle coming in, and it's all starting to happen. I said on Fox years ago, communists, radicals, anarchists, and Islamists would work together. I told you that they would start a caliphate, and then that uprising that happened in the Arab Spring would spread from the Middle East to Europe and then finally to America to destroy the Western world. Citizen Brief is coming up in just a second.
That staged a revolution across the world. If we could do that, why can't we have that revolution in America?
Listen to that. Is that not absolutely incredible? We're the ones that staged the revolution all around the world. If we can do that, how come we can't do it here in America? That is exactly what they are trying to do. And no one in the media will tie it all together for you. Tonight, our Wednesday night special, you don't want to miss it. Really, really well researched. They mocked me when I said they were going to reestablish a caliphate. They did. Turkey's about to do it again. They've mocked me for the alliance of America's enemies. And I would just like to suggest that those in power maybe should spend less time mocking me and perhaps a little more time learning the definition of impossible. Lunacy. It'll never happen. Inconceivable. I feel the press is run by a little speech-impaired Sicilian named Vicente, whose giant has just been bested. They don't get it. But Islamic radicals have joined Black Lives Matter, and the dots are all now connected.